someone who's been trained to lie for basically his entire life, Dexter has struggled to keep his secrets safe from the people around him. Now that he's in New York, Dexter has once again intertwined his life a little too closely with an innocent person, his new friend and landlord, Blessing Kamara. It's only a matter of time before Blessing finds out that Dexter isn't the man he pretends to be. Today, we are breaking down all of the ways that Blessing will be the next person to learn Dexter's secret. After all, it almost happened a couple times already. First, following the death of his mother, Blessing had that crash out that led him down to Dexter's apartment to apologize. Little did he know, Dexter had a dead serial killer on a tarp right in the middle of the living room. When he knocked, Dexter, thinking on his feet, quickly wrapped up Gareth's body and dragged it to the shower, hiding it behind his shower curtain before inviting Blessing inside. That seemed to work well enough at first, but everything almost fell apart. We can assume he'd already cleaned up all the glass from Gemini's drink because Blessing never commented on it. But what he did comment on was the mishandled shower curtain. Blessing had a long day and asked for aspirin. Dexter pointed him to the bathroom, forgetting for a moment that he had a dead guy in there. He realized at the last minute, and in the mirror's reflection, Blessing noticed that the shower curtain was off track and turned to fix it. At that moment, he was so close to finding out Dexter's secret. Had he moved the shower curtain just a few more millimeters in either direction, Gareth's freshly decaying body would have been at least partially visible, and Blessing may have ended up sharing that tub with the Gemini killer. Dexter seems to be trying to get out of the habit of killing innocent people simply for his own convenience, and Blessing did just confide in him that he had already killed a man himself. So maybe he wouldn't have killed Blessing as soon as he saw Gemini's body. Blessing has fallen for every other lie Dexter has told so far. If Dexter wanted to avoid killing Blessing, he could try to convince him that he killed the unknown man in his bathtub in self-defense after finding him hidden in the apartment. A similar strategy worked on Deb for a while when she caught him killing Travis Marshall, the Doomsday Killer. It also worked when Batista and Quinn watched him kill the brain surgeon, Oliver Saxon, on tape. A premature assumption of self-defense also got Dexter out of trouble for killing Coach Logan in Iron Lake. Maybe Blessing would buy it too. Dexter could have said that he only tried to hide the body because he was scared and didn't want to be taken away from Harrison again after just getting back to him. As a loving and protective father himself, Blessing might have been sympathetic to something like that. He may have even tried to help Dexter cover everything up. But of course, if Blessing showed even the slightest indication that he didn't believe Dexter's lies, or that he planned to tell anyone or alert the authorities, yeah, the shower would have probably been his second to last resting spot right before the incinerator. Either way, if Blessing moved the shower curtain any further, he would have known that Dexter was a killer before the end of the night. And even if Dexter did have to kill him, Blessing would have died knowing that Dexter was an experienced killer, no matter what lies he tried to spin before it was all over. But luckily for Dexter, Blessing didn't see Gareth's body. He just straightened the shower curtain up and moved on with his evening. He even apologized to Dexter and called him a good person. Blessing was actually worried that he scared Dexter. That's adorable. When he left, Dexter was free to dispose of Gareth's body as he planned, but the trouble wasn't over yet. The very next day, there was yet another opportunity for shit to hit the fan. While Dexter was away on Leon Prater's private island and killing the second Gemini killer twin, Batista was still busy tracking Dexter since he ditched him in Iron Lake. He already had Teddy trace the license plate of Dexter's old truck and found out who he sold it to. Then Batista had detectives Claudette and Oliva give him access to the DMV records, which showed him exactly what Dexter's new car and license plate number were, and it gave him Dexter's new address too. Of course, all of this was only possible because Batista got Dexter's records corrected to indicate that he was still alive. Honestly, it was all peak police work on Batista's part. He decided to drop by that address he found from the DMV records, expecting to run into Dexter. Instead, he found Blessing Kamara tending to his lawn. The entire setup Dexter arranged for himself in New York could have ended right then and there. Batista didn't hesitate to tell Blessing that he was there looking for Dexter, and Blessing was pretty open about how he and Dexter knew each other after Batista said he was an old friend from Miami. Blessing even confirmed that he met Harrison, confirming to Batista, without even realizing it, that Harrison knew Dexter was alive and they were on good terms again. Batista learned so much about Dexter from Blessing, and he could have easily decided to return the favor. If Batista thought for a second that Blessing was in danger, he could have been prompted to spill all of of Dexter's secrets, confirmed or otherwise, to keep him and his family safe. Sure, Blessing was very welcoming to Dexter in the beginning, but it isn't like they had known each other for very long. In fact, he'd only known Dexter for a few weeks by then. Dexter said so himself at Prudence's wake. And Blessing's wife already did a background check on Dexter, discovering that weird 10-year gap in his history. Even if he didn't tell him everything, Batista could have made sure that Blessing was aware of just how dangerous Dexter really was. He already told Blessing's entire family that Dexter used to work for the police in Miami. Who knows what else would have come out if Dexter didn't show up when he did. Batista could have told Blessing that Dexter faked his own death, dumped his own sister's body into the ocean, and fled Florida to live in hiding for the last decade. All of that to escape the mess he made in Miami after running amok there for years. Blessing would have had plenty of questions after a visit like that. Everything Batista said would make Dexter's distant behavior and murky past make more sense. And Blessing may be incredibly nice, but he's not an idiot. Batista could have blown up Dexter's entire spot with a simple conversation. So the fact that Blessing hasn't already found out is more than just a coincidence. It's sheer Dexter brand luck. But that luck could definitely run out in the upcoming seasons. Batista was probably being discreet when he met Blessing so that Dexter wouldn't run away again, like he did when he felt cornered in Iron Lake. Not only that, but when Dexter becomes desperate, people typically end up dead. As far as Batista knows, Dexter killed Maria, Dokes, and Coach Logan, all innocent people, just because he wanted to stay out of jail. Blessing and his family could have ended up as the next set of casualties if Dexter thought they knew his secret. So he kept them safe by acting like an old friend, charming his way into their home and even dancing with them so they would be as relaxed as possible when Dexter got home. But given the seriousness of the situation, Quinn would probably be willing to bypass that level of precaution if he got a hold of Blessing. The only reason Batista was in New York was to track Dexter, and it wouldn't take Quinn long to figure that out once he started investigating Batista's death. He wasn't even there for more than a few weeks before he was found shot to death under mysterious circumstances. And now the suspected killer, Leon Prater, vanished into thin air. The pattern would be impossible to ignore, and Quinn wouldn't mince words and wait around for anyone else to fall victim to Dexter. If Quinn had the chance to interview Blessing, it would likely be in a more official capacity, because unlike Batista, he never retired. There is no way that Blessing wouldn't want to know why he was being asked about Dexter, and why wouldn't Quinn tell him at least part of what the issue was? Again, Blessing and his family could very well be in grave danger by being so close with Dexter, and Quinn would know that. He might feel like it would be his responsibility to tell them whatever was necessary to keep them alive, even if he can't exactly prove everything just yet. And it isn't just Quinn. Batista died in Claudette's jurisdiction, and she knew that he was tracking Dexter, despite being urged to stop and head home. Guess all that time as Dokes' partner rubbed off on him a little bit. His death may seem open and shut right now because Leon's prints were found on the gun that was used in the homicide, but that could definitely change if Quinn started poking around. Claudette isn't the type to just let something go if it doesn't feel right. If she even slightly suspects that Dexter is related to Batista's death in any way, she will follow whatever lead necessary to get the full picture. With his friend dead with no explanation and police snooping around, all but outright accusing Dexter of being involved, it wouldn't be long before Blessing found out the truth, or at least part of it. And he couldn't just leave. If Dexter left suddenly to avoid the heat, it would only confirm any suspicions Blessing might have started having. Bottom line, if homicide detectives get involved with Dexter, it won't be long before Blessing starts to put things together. But there are a few other ways Dexter's secret could be exposed to his new buddy Blessing. Since his coma, Dexter has been having some pretty intense pain, especially in his shoulder region. Luckily for him, Blessing's daughter Joy is an aspiring acupuncturist, and she was getting pretty good at it. Noticing Dexter's pain, she started treating him free of charge. During one of their first sessions, Joy told Dexter that she used to live in the basement apartment before him. More importantly, she showed him where she used to hide her weed stash to keep her parents from finding it while she stayed there. She was just making conversation, of course, but that information turned out to be very useful for Dexter. After killing Red and Lowell, Dexter returned to his old ways of keeping trophies from his victims, and he needed a place to keep his blood slides with him, but safely tucked away out of view. Now that he was living as Blessing's tenant, Joy's hiding hole seemed like the perfect spot for that. But is it really? It's convenient for Dexter, of course. He lives alone and rarely has company, and even if he did, kid. No one else knows about that little nook. No one except for Joy, of course. And she comes over to Dexter's apartment whenever he needs another acupuncture session. She's probably respectful enough not to go snooping around a random person's apartment, but Dexter seems like such a close family friend at this point, and her father is the landlord. Who knows what could lead her to look in her old hiding spot? She could just want to take a trip down memory lane one day while she's there and stumble upon the blood slides by complete accident, just like when Blessing almost found Gareth's body in the shower. If Dexter let his guard down for a moment or turned his back for too long while she was there, he could miss the opportunity to stop her from looking in there and she could find his trophies. And what if there was an issue with the apartment? In the original series, Dexter's apartment was exposed to Rita when his landlord had to go in to fix damage caused by a busted pipe. He didn't even wait for Dexter to get home. His trophies and everything else could have been discovered by something as random but inevitable as that. Later, after he finally gave up his apartment and moved everything into the shed in his and Rita's backyard, they were almost discovered again. After Cody climbed on top of the shed to get his frisbee down, that dumbass fell through the roof. Rita told Dexter that their neighbor Elliot almost kicked in the air conditioner to get to Cody. If he had done that, Dexter's blood slides would have been scattered everywhere, on full display in front of his family and neighbors with no explanation. Dexter is again just one maintenance issue from someone finding his trophies. That's probably why Harry told him never to keep them. An electrical issue, a flooding problem, a fire. Blessing could go in the apartment poking around at any time, and if he looks too thoroughly, he could find those blood slides and figure out that Dexter is in fact a creep motherfucker. Keeping trophies was never a good idea, but for some reason, no matter how many times they get him in trouble, Dexter can't seem to stop himself from collecting them. If Blessing or his daughter find those slides hidden in Dexter's apartment, and it's very possible that they could, the jig will be up and he'll be forced to face the music. But hey, maybe they won't find the slides. There is still another way the truth could come out, and it isn't pretty. How many times has someone that Dexter cares about been put in harm's way because of his lifestyle? He is a walking target, and he knows it. That's why he ran away to become a lumberjack in Oregon, abandoning Hannah and his son in the first place. He thought the only way to keep them safe was to stay away from them. And he wasn't exactly wrong to think that way. So many innocent people have already died just by being associated with him. Trinity got to Rita and murdered her in retaliation for Dexter meddling in his life. When Jordan Chase wanted to lure Dexter into a trap, he kidnapped Lumen and held her hostage until he showed up planning to kill them both. Isaac Serco did the same thing to Hannah when he needed Dexter's help getting rid of the hitman the Koshka sent after him. She was almost killed trying to get away. His pursuit of the brain surgeon resulted in Dr. Vogel's brutal murder and Deborah's permanent brain damage and eventual death. After Dexter killed Matt Caldwell and started targeting his dad, the runaway killer, both he and Harrison were kidnapped by Kurt, who almost killed them both. And when they got to New York City, Leon Prater basically did the same thing, kidnapping Harrison, using him as a pawn to get to Dexter, and then nearly murdering them in cold blood. Sensing a pattern yet? Again and again this happens. Dexter starts his vetting process, underestimates the threat in one way or another, and then an innocent person winds up kidnapped at best or murdered at worst. Now he's running around New York with a brand new list of potential targets, any one of which could be more savvy than Dexter is anticipating. He is most likely planning to target Al Walker, aka Rapunzel, now that he's got his file. Al has a family, and a pretty large one at that. He seems to love them, and if he is as protective of them as Dexter is of Harrison, he may be willing to go to extreme lengths to keep them from discovering his secret or being harmed themselves. He could track Dexter, find out where he's been living, and target Blessing's family to draw him out. And it's not just him. Any killer that pops up as the big bad could do the same thing. They may not get the chance to kill Blessing, his wife Constance, their daughter Joy, or her fiance Sam, but even if Dexter manages to save them, they will know that he is into some shady shit. The person who targets them could even let them know exactly why they are there, exposing Dexter immediately. If someone comes after Blessing, nothing Dexter says or does will be able to erase the fact that whatever he was up to in New York put Blessing's entire family in danger. He won't be able to explain it all away the way he usually can. One way or another, in this scenario, Blessing would know that Dexter is a killer. If Blessing does discover the truth, if he finds out that Dexter is a serial killer who has been lying to him from the moment they met, Dexter's options would start to fade away fast. Harry's code is built on one unbreakable rule: don't get caught. And even without the code, Dexter hates the idea of going to prison more than anything. Unfortunately for Blessing, Dexter sees anyone who knows the full truth about him as a liability. He won't allow himself to be caught no matter what the cost is. Dexter has killed to protect that secret before. He killed Stan Liddy when he threatened threatened to expose him and Lumen to Quinn. He was prepared to kill LaGuerta when she caught on, and he even killed Logan, maybe one of the most pure and wholesome people he'd ever met, to escape after the Iron Lake Police Department was catching on to him. He may have been taught to never hurt an innocent, but almost anyone's life can become collateral damage when Dexter's freedom is at stake. If Blessing made it clear he couldn't live with what he knew, or worse, that he planned to go to the police, Dexter's survival instinct could take over. It wouldn't be personal, of course, but that's part of the tragedy of it all. Blessing is kind, trusting, and he gave Dexter a lifeline in New York as soon as they met. And that is probably what makes them even more dangerous in Dexter's eyes. Good people with strong morals don't usually stay quiet after they find out that an active serial killer is living underneath them. Even Deb almost turned Dexter in when she found out, and she was his sister. Dexter would probably rationalize it the way he always does. Blessing dying would mean just one death that could eliminate any more consequences for him and his son. It would also allow Dexter to continue killing killers, saving a lot more innocent lives as a result. It would just be one last unfortunate kill to stop any more chaos from entering his life. And if it came down to Blessing, or life imprisonment, or Harrison losing his father all over again, Dexter's choice, as cold as it may be, is pretty predictable. Blessing would almost certainly have to die, but maybe Dexter wouldn't have to be the one to kill him. Another pattern in this series is that Dexter's hands are usually technically clean when the people who learn his secret end up dead. Lila West killed Sergeant Dokes to protect Dexter. Deb took care of LaGuerta for him, even though it almost drove her insane. And when Batista figured it all out, Leon Prater was the one who ended up taking him out. It's not at all impossible that Blessing dies at the hands of another killer who wants to hurt Dexter. Rita isn't the only person who was killed to send a message to Dexter. When the brain surgeon wanted Dexter to back off, he killed Dexter's young protege Zach Hamilton and left his corpse in Dexter's apartment back in Miami. There is a non-zero chance that Dexter comes home one day to find Blessing dead or disappeared because someone he pissed off wanted to hit him where it would really hurt. If Blessing knew Dexter's secret, that would be very convenient for him, even if he didn't want it to happen. And there is still a path where Dexter could spare Blessing. After seeing how Harrison reacted to him killing Logan and having to deal with the pain of watching Batista die because of his actions, Dexter may not want to go back down the route of killing innocent people for his own benefit. Blessing might react with shock at first, but he could still choose to remain silent. Whether that be out of fear or because he cares about Dexter more than we think. He might even have some sort of conflicted understanding for what Dexter does. For this to work, Dexter would have to frame all of his killings as necessary vigilante work. He could lean on Blessing's own admission that he once killed a man to manipulate him into keeping his mouth shut. If Dexter could successfully appeal to Blessing as a father, a protector, and a fellow killer, Blessing might agree to take his secret to the grave. If Blessing showed Dexter that he's a loyal ally who respects his work as a killer, he would be saving his own life in real time. Dexter could leave Blessing alive and maybe even protect him from anyone else that may come. After all, he was about to do exactly that for Batista in Prater's vault before Batista attacked him, and Batista knew everything. That would protect his relationship with Harrison and stop him from having to deal with the death of yet another innocent person, all of which would be very appealing to Dexter. And if Blessing ever changed his mind and tries to turn Dexter in, Dexter knows he could just make him look crazy like he has done to so many people in the past. Beyond death, compromising his own morals by keeping Dexter's secret, or looking like a lunatic if he tried to turn him in, there are no other outcomes for Blessing once he learns the truth. And again, it's only a matter of time. Even though Dexter has spent his entire life perfecting the art of deception, living by Harry's code, swearing he'll never get caught, someone always gets too close, sees too much, and starts asking the right questions. And in New York, that someone is almost definitely going to be Blessing. At this point, it's not a question of Blessing will find out what Dexter really is, it's when. He has already been mere inches away from the truth on more than one occasion. How long can Dexter really keep it up? If Quinn shows up asking questions, or Claudette starts connecting the dots after Batista's unexpected death, Dexter will once again be targeted up in some elaborate web of lies to try to keep Blessing from finding out the truth, and it may not work this time. If anyone were to stumble across those trophies he's keeping tucked away in his apartment, that would mean game over as well. Dexter has been exposed by less in the past. The fact of the matter is that this is a pattern that Dexter just can't seem to put an end to. Every time he follows his dark passenger, people around him get hurt. Rita, Deb, Hannah, Harrison, Batista. The list goes on and on. And if a new killer targets Blessing to get to Dexter, he won't need to explain the truth, and he may not even get the chance. Every time Dexter inserts himself into someone's life, he is found out, and usually an innocent person pays the price. Dexter always thinks he can manage the risk, stay one step ahead of his enemies, and control all of the variables. But his history says otherwise. And if his history is any indicator of what's to come, Blessing may not just find out that Dexter is a killer, he might find out the hard way. But what are your thoughts? Is Blessing doomed to meet the same fate as everyone else who has ever learned Dexter's secret? Do you think Dexter will be able to keep it hidden from him somehow, or bring him to the dark side? Share your theories in the comments below. And if you like this breakdown, check out our video covering everything that could have happened if Leon Prater never killed Batista. It's definitely no secret that you should slash that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.